That's true, sure. That's true.
It's part of the things. So again, like I was saying, let me just quickly rush again, do a recap. Compiled versus interpreted. This is very important to understand. You may not see why now, but it's a very fundamental thing you need to understand about the difference between compiled and interpreted language. Like I said, we are just coming from C, and C is a compiled language. A compiled language is a kind of language where I'm just using very simple terms. Some of the things I'm saying is not exactly, I'm just trying to use a very simple analogies to explain it. So a compiled language is basically a kind of language where it runs through all your code, the whole of your files, everything. It checks all your code at once and looks for um it looks for some basic things to make sure that some things are in place. For example, your data types are the right data types. Your there is no syntax error. There is no syntax error anywhere. So it checks some basic things in the code to make sure. And after that, it now does compilation process. And we know that there are basically four stages of the compilation process. So the preprocessor stage, the linking stage, the compiling stage, and the what's the fourth one? There are four of them, sure. There are mainly four stages of compilation process for a compiled program. And I try to show you that there's difference. There's programs that are compiled to a single file, and there are some programs that are compiled to multiple files, so dynamically. So that's what we were taught about static and dynamic linking. So
Assembly, linking.
so now Python, like I said, is an interpreted language. An interpreted language is a language that
File.
runs live. It's kind of like it is running live. So it's your code runs line by line, and it runs live. So if there is a problem in your code, right, it's possible that you may not spot that problem until you get to that part of the code. It's possible that you may not spot that program. If you write a function that doesn't work, that is, that has some kind of syntax error, it's possible that you can write your code and it will not give error until you call that function. So I'm just trying to give an analogy. So let's just go straight to the code. Now I just did a basic hello world in C. Most of us should know this by now. So this is C, and everything here is very specific in C. In C, if you want to use printf, include stdio. Must include. If you don't include this, printf can't work. So it's part of the standard library. You must import it. Then, if you are printing hello world, right? If you want the hello world, I've removed this. Let me compile it again. GCC test.c. So the reason it wasn't working before is because I did not spell test.c with dash o test.exe. So I use text. So if I write dot slash test.exe, so I have hello world. So if you when I put this hello world, I had to put a new line at the end. I have to put a new line character at the end for it to show. If I do not put this new line, we all know what will happen. The terminal will just continue from here and it will look somehow awkward. So there are many rules you must follow. You must put semicolon at the end. If I do not put this semicolon, it will give error. You can see even my VS Code is highlighting it. And because this is the main function, first of all, you must have a main function. So if I change this function to something else now, something else, it will give error. Why? Because in any C program you must have a main function, at least one, then any other function is now called through that main function. Then, and in your main function you must return a number, you must return an integer. You cannot say void main. A main function must return an integer, which is the status code of your program. So there's many rules like that, in C. So in Python, if I want to print this same thing, hello world, I just write print hello world, right? And I'm done, finish. This is all. Print hello world. So in Python, it is called print. Um, it's not printf, it's just called print. And there are some things you should know before I run this. You don't need to put new line at the end. The print statement in Python automatically puts new line for you. You don't need to put in C. If you are printing something, right, and you want it to go to a new line, you must specify a new line character at the end for it to go to. In Python, you don't need to specify it. Instead, you have to, in Python now, if let's say for some reason you want to print something and you don't want it to go to a new line, you want it to continue on the same line, then you have to specify it somewhere. You have to specify something like end equal to double, something like this. So let it not go to a new line. So let me just run this quickly so that we'll see. Let me be sure. So Python test.py. So as you can see, this is hello world. I'm running this with Python. This one is the one I ran with GCC. This is the C on. This is Python on. So basically, I've printed hello world. So many things to observe here. One, we don't need to import. In Python, many things are already exist. Many of the functions we use already exist. You don't need to import anything. You can almost write a whole page of Python code without importing anything because most of them are already imported, right? So but if you want to import, right, first of all, just to show you some syntax difference. So here in C, we do hashtag include. You do hashtag include, then you pick your library. So Python also has libraries. If you want to import something in Python, you do import. So if I want to import, let's say pandas, I don't know if I have pandas. Yes, I have pandas. Sorry, as PT, for example. So what I just did here now is the same thing as is the same analogy with when you do include hashtag include in C. So but this is how it is done in Python. So all these things I'm saying, if it's new to you, you may not remember everything, right? The important thing here is for you to understand and ask me any question you want to ask. Now, where this class, right, where I'm leading this class to, the way I want to go about this class is when I do some introduction, right, I'm going to go to HackerRank. There's a website called HackerRank. You may have heard of it. I'm going to go there and just pick some challenges. So you know how ALX gives us like a task. They will say write a function that does this and this and this and does that and that, right? And it should produce this output, something like that. If you go to HackerRank, you have if you just go to you can just go to their challenge section and you can pick any programming language you want and you see different questions from easy, medium, and hard. So this is where I'm leading this class to, where if I show you some things, then we'll come here and just pick a question and do. So I feel like that's the one of the best ways to like teach you, because I may not everything may come to my head at once, but if we are picking a question and say, okay, we want to solve this problem, especially some of the problems we have done in C, I'll show you how to do it in Python. You understand? So that is like a easier way for you to see, oh, okay, so this is how you do it here. Okay, we did it like this in C, but this is how we do it here. So that's the direction I'm going. So I just want to give you some introduction first before we now get there. So we are going to come back here. Now, like I said, this is how you import something in Python, right? So let me just remove this. This is not important for now. So we just printed hello world, right? And I ran it. And if you want to run a Python file, you just do Python and then the name of the Python file. So you notice that we did not compile. We are literally running the Python file directly, right? In C now, if you have a file that is .c, you don't run the C file. You compile the C file. You compile it, then you now run the file that is compiled. But in Python, we just run the file. Why? Because like I said, it is running your code line by line. It is not like checking all your code and then combining it and then producing a binary file. It is literally running the file. So each line is being interpreted one by one. So if I have multiple lines, it is interpreting the first line, converting it to object code for the computer to understand. It executes whatever it is. It goes to the next line, executes it one by one, and it is done live. So later, maybe you understand what that means. So this is just a hello world I just printed, right? So the next thing now, what other things do we want to take note of? Let's say the data types. Every programming language, you must understand different data types that a programming language has. So in C, if you remember from C, we have something like int, we have char, we have basically in C we have int char, then we have others like maybe struct, right? So in Python we also have data types. So we have integer, We have int also representing integer. We have str representing a string. We have str. We have so so let me just define some create some variables, right? Now one thing with C is that you don't need to put in one thing with Python in C. If I want to declare a variable, I'll say int num equal to, let's say, 5, right? This is what I have to do in C. If I want to do this in Python, I just say num equal to 5. I don't need to specify any data type. So I don't need to say, oh, this is int or something. So this is called what's it called again? It's called dynamic. It is a dynamically typed language. Yes. So C is a statically typed language. Statically typed means you have to specify the types when you any data type when you are creating or declaring it. In C, you don't need to specify. So because I put 5, the C interpreter will look at this 5 and understand that, okay, this 5 is supposed to be an integer. I point this thing now, you see it tells me variable num is a literal 5. So this is an integer. So if I want to declare a string like a text, I can just say str equal to put hello, right? So this is a string that I just declared, and if I point it, you see that this is sorcery trying to give me some type hinting. So if I know I would have disabled next time, I'll disable this so that all this noise. So basically, this is a string I just declared. As you can see, I don't need to put any car here. I don't need to put it. So Python knows that this is a string.
So there's
Yeah.
sorry. So there's nothing like using a let, cons, var,
No,
nothing
no,
like
no,
that
no,
on
no, nothing like that.
Python.
There is no let, there is no const. You just call the name, and it's not let is JavaScript and all those stuff. You don't even Python is you don't need all that. Literally, just
Yeah.
call the name and
You
equal to, yeah. Sorry.
said STR can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
You said STR is
Wow.
string in Python.
Yes, it's a string. Yes.
So, but you're using it as a variable. Is that not a problem?
Okay. No, no, no. This is not.
So, I mean that what you're doing, you're trying to declare a variable. That means you have declared.
Yes, yes. Okay. This is not a problem. No, because Python does a lot of things automatically. So this is not this thing I did is not a problem. str is not a, let's say it's not really a function keyword. Okay, it's giving me do not assign built-in str, right? Okay, this is what you're talking
The,
about. That's why did I
it's
use
not a
str?
reserve.
Okay, okay, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
you are right. You
it's,
are right.
yeah, it's a
So I can
reserve
use something
keyword
like
as well.
string, yes. That's why it is giving me do not use built-in variable str. Yeah. So str is the data type. All right. Let me use something like string. So this is a string. All this thing is just talking about that I should use capital letter instead of small letter. So it's just it's,
And I think that first one too.
hmm. This one there's no issue.
Uh, I think since this thing is a constant.
Yes, it's a constant. So it's just telling me I should use capital. It's one of those coding things that you practice. You see it has disappeared. Just saying when you're declaring a global variable constant, you should use capital letter. So it doesn't mean that the code will not run. It's just like a good habit or something. So I this is an integer. This is a string. There's another one called float. So let's say score. Score is equal to 91.45. So this is a float. This score now, you can see it is a float. Then we have primitive data types and we have derived data types. So this this is integer string float. We have integer string float. Okay, basically. Then we have just like in C, just like we have arrays, in Python we have lists. So let me say scores is equal to 1 91 and 45 33 27 or 28. This is a list in Python. This is how you sorry. This is how you create a list in Python. You just create a variable, and you put all your data in a square bracket. Now, one thing about Python is very, very dynamic. You know, in C, if you want to declare an array, let's say an integer array, like you can do int nums, for example, square brackets, then you say equal to curly brackets 23, 65, 12, 41, for example, right? This is an integer array, then I end it with semicolon, right? So in now, one thing you notice in an integer array or in any array in C is that the data type you specify, that's the only data you can put in an array. So I cannot put, like here now I put, so I cannot say hi. You cannot have mixed data in an array. You cannot have mixed data in an array. So it must all be integers. But in C, you can have mixed data. So this one I have 95. I can say my name. I can say 33.34. I can literally have another list inside. I can say um, um, maybe 9, comma 21. This is a mixture. This is a list. This list contains 1, 2, 3, 4 items, and one of the items in the list is also a list that has 2 items inside. All this is possible in Python. So you can have a list within another list. You can have a list within another list. All this is possible in Python. It's very, very dynamic. So I have different data types inside my list, right? Now another kind of data type in Python apart from list is called a tuple. So a tuple is very much like a list. So let me just say names is equal to, now if you want to declare a tuple, you use curved bracket. So let me say again, a tuple can contain multiple items, multiple data types. So I can say 1.3 I 15. You can have different data types. Now, what is the difference between a list and a tuple? The main difference between a list and a tuple is that in a list, you can change the element of a list. I can change the different elements of a list, but I cannot change the different elements in the tuple. So what does that mean? So let me try and do something now. I want to replace this first number in my list. I want to replace this 91 with another number. So I can say scores.
What's the tuple? Don't change.
Yes. So a tuple is just like a list. A tuple is just like a list. It's like an iterable, so like an array. So when we have, it's an object that can have multiple items. So just like a list can have multiple items separated by comma, a tuple is the same way. The difference in the syntax is that a list uses square brackets, a tuple uses curved brackets. And the difference between a tuple and a list in terms of functionality, one of the main difference is that,
Okay.
yes, in a list, you cannot, you can change the individual items in a list, but in a tuple, you cannot change the different items in a tuple. You cannot change it. So now, let me say I want to say scores square bracket 0 is equal to 45, for example, right? Let me save it. Then let me print scores before. I'll print scores before. Print scores. Then I'm going to print scores after. Print scores. So I print scores before and I print scores after. And at the end. So this is my scores list before. These are the items in my list. Then I change the first element of scores from 91. I want to change it now to 45. Then I'm going to print scores again. So let me try and run this. Python test .c and .py. So you can see when I printed it first, it printed 91. when I printed it first, then I change it. I say score 0 is equal to 45. Then it changed to 45, right? So I can change the different elements in a list in Python. But if I want to change this tuple now, if I want to change this one, so let me say, um, let's clear this. Let's change this to names. Let's change this to names. So let's say names 0 is equal to 45, right? I want to change the first element of these names. So if I, even before I run it, my IntelliSense is telling me that names 0 does not support item assign. What it's just basically saying is that I cannot change the elements. If I try to run this now, python test.py, I'm having an error that says a tuple object does not support item assignment. So I cannot change the items in a tuple. That's basically what it's saying. So a tuple again is like a list or an array, is an iterable. You can index it, right? So I can say I can just I can
Hold
print.
on a minute.
Sorry, hello.
Yeah, Uche, sorry. As you screened it out, I wanted that place where you had that error, I wanted to point out something. I wanted you to explain something. Can you go back to
Okay, here.
before you clean it out? Like go back to the point where we are trying to print out the tuple.
Okay, that's it.
Okay, names. Okay, right, names. So I could have expected, you explained the interpreter initially, right? That
Yes, yes,
Python is going to take it line by line
yes, yes,
and print out. So
yes,
we have print names before that tuple assignment.
yes.
So why did we not print out that name
Mm.
and then now tell us the error in the next line?
Okay, I
Or
didn't.
did it?
I'm not sure I got that. What do you say? Come again.
It did.
Yes, yes. Hello.
I think it did. It did. I didn't see it.
Okay, okay, yeah. Okay. You are saying why it
Can
didn't
you hear
print
me?
it. Yes, yes. Okay, yes. Look at it now.
Okay,
It printed it
I think
first.
you should run it again. I think you should run it again.
Yes. Okay. Let me run it again. So Python test.py. So you can see it prints the first names, the first one, but when it gets to the second one, it's now giving
Yeah,
an error. Yes.
it did.
So the reason that this happened is because, like we say,
Yeah.
Python is
Okay.
printing, is doing every line one
Okay.
by one.
But
So if you
it
try
brings
to do
out the
this in
error.
C now, C
Yeah,
will
that's
not even
because
compile.
interface.
It will just tell you an error that, oh, something something. If you try to do something that is not possible, like, you know,
It
like
not
this,
work.
eh, not even compile. So
I prefer this Python now.
sorry. Well, it's, there's reasons. There are very specific reasons to use it. There's still reasons to use C, but Python is the most popular language in the world. Arguably between Python and JavaScript, and there are many. Is a general purpose language. So I believe you get that explanation. So now there are other data types in
My
Python.
brother, I say see wahala too much.
Well, it's well,
I think
I don't know, Sha.
Python, if you don't get everything, you will see the
I
some.
swear.
But see, you go never tell you say everything you do.
Yeah,
Once the compile you no work, all your code should do. Once that compile you no work, you no go anywhere. Python, I think you see output, it will give you small encouragement. Say, okay, you
yeah,
don't produce something.
yeah, that's true, Sha. So, but there are still, like I mentioned one time in the chat, there are things you cannot do with Python. All these programs now, they are written in things like C, your hand. So if you're writing like maybe real software, you can't really use Python like that. You have to use low level language, something like, or compiled language like Java or C or those kind of things. So, but it's good to know like a high level language and a low level language. Very, very good. You are like a superman if you know something like that. So I showed you integer, strings, floats, list, tuples. We have other types. We have dictionary. We have what's called dictionary in Python. A dictionary is called a is the data structure. A dictionary is a special type of data structure called I think it's hash table or hash map, something like that. So what's a dictionary? Um let's say I want to write students, right? I want to say students. So student is equal to, so let me go to a new line. Student is equal to curly brackets, enter. Then I can say students, let's say Uche colon let's say 0x01, for example. No, 0x01, no, let's say 25, comma, um, let's say Caleb colon 12, comma, um, let's say um, let's say John colon 34, for example, right? So this data structure here, this is called a dictionary. This is a special type of data structure in Python, right? So I think C, I don't know if we have gotten to that point. I have not really done research much in C, whether C has something like this, but this is a key value pair type of data structure. So, you know, all these primitive ones we treated, they just store one variable, one data. So these are just stored a number or a string or something. While iterable ones like list and tuples, they have different items, so separated by comma. Now, in a dictionary, you have what is called key value pairs, the key and the value.
Hash tables.
Yes, hash table. Yes. Okay, I think that's the word.
Is
So we have
this
key.
not like
Hello,
as well?
hello. I didn't get that. Hello. I think network. Yes, sorry. But I hope you can hear me. So like we said, this key value pairs. You understand? We have the key, we have the
Which
value.
I think it's Bluetooth network.
Okay. So I showed you how to access elements of an iterable. So this is called, this is named. If I want to print an element from my score table, right? If I want to like do something on one of my elements, right? So I can say scores. Let me print it. Print scores square brackets 2, for example, right? Print score square brackets 2. It will print this name. So let's run this. Python test.py. So it prints this. Let me. Um, is there any print statement? Let me remove this hello world. Let me just comment it out. So if I run it again, it prints this number, which is 012. Yeah, so it prints this because this is the item with index 2. So I can also print names. So let me say I want to print names 1, for example, right? So which means this high. If I run this again, names high. So you see it printed high. So this is the way you can just use square bracket indexing. This is the same thing with C. So you can just access them with their index. Now, if I want to access the elements of a dictionary, right, you use the key. So if I want to access students, let's say I want to know, so you know, in in Python or in C, first of all, we just have like something like an array. We just have something like an array with different element, and you access it using the index, so 0, 1, 2, 3, right? Then in Python, I've showed you the same thing with a list. Now, in a hash table like this, like a dictionary, right? If I want to access any of this number, I use the key. So if I want to say print this 34, right? I want to know John's number, for example, right? I'll just do something like student print students square bracket John, right? Let me John in capital letter. So I'm printing students square bracket John, right? If I now run this, you see now it prints 34. So in a dictionary, right? Dictionary do not use, even right now I have three entries in my dictionary. I have 1, two, sorry. I have three entries, 1, 2, 3 in my dictionary. So you don't use numbers indexing to access a dictionary because a dictionary is an unordered set of items. So there's what we call ordered and unordered. Now lists and tuples are ordered. Ordered means that this 91 comes before this, comes before this, comes before this. There is an order. That's why we can use 0, 1, 2, 3 to identify them. But a dictionary, they are not ordered. It doesn't matter whether this is first or I can just exchange this. I can just exchange them like this. I'm having error because of this comma. Let me put comma here. So you can exchange them. It doesn't matter which one is on top or not. Why? Because you are not using number to identify them. You are using the keys. So if I want to get this value, I use the key of Uche. If I use here, I printed 34 because 34 is associated with John. If I use Uche and I print this, you see I get 25. Right? So again, I'm saying a lot of things, and I know like it may be because it may be hard for you to like remember all this because like there's so much. Like, what's the point? What's the use? Right? That's why I told you that we're going to go to HackerRank and pick a question and solve. So if you are just learning like this, oh, okay, this is this, you will not remember anything because, okay, how do I apply this to solve a problem, right? So that's why we're going to pick a problem. I'm just showing you so don't worry if I'm just going all over the place. You understand? By the time we get a problem that we want to solve and we start working on it, then you now see how we make use of some of these things. So far, is there any question?
You are making a lot of sense. I'm following.
Sorry, Uche, I want to ask.
Yes.
Yes, I want to ask a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear. Yes.
My network is wonderful. Sorry. Um, in Python, is there any data type called object?
Okay, yes, there is. So let me just show you. Let me just show you that quickly. I wanted to leave that later, but let me just show you. Now, it's not necessarily object. Now, first of all, there's a data type called class. Or is it data type? Yeah, yeah. There's something called a class. Python.
Hmm.
Now, Python is
Okay,
what is
you know I'm asking because this one you just showed now.
yes,
Sorry, this one you just showed now. This one you just illustrated. This student equal to this is hash table, but the key value
yes,
pairs.
yes.
This I've seen this called an object, but not in Python. No.
Okay, okay, yeah, yeah. This is called an object in
So I'm not trying to
JavaScript.
relate. If it's okay, sorry, just show me the one for objects. I will understand.
Okay, I know what you're saying. Let me.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
exactly. That's why I did look at two times over and over
Yes.
again.
Yeah, so this thing I described here in Python it is called a dictionary, but this exact same thing in JavaScript is called an object. It's the same thing, key value pair. That's why we have something called JSON. JSON means JavaScript object notation. So this is literally
Exactly the same syntax.
yes. So this is how data is gotten from the internet. This is how data is transferred on the web. Most data in the web is transferred in JSON format. So it is basically key value pair dictionary. So in Python it is called a dictionary, but in JavaScript it is called JSON. And most times when you are doing anything, the most people generally identify it as a object. So, but that's I guess that's where you are coming from. So yes, this is it's not called object in Python. Specifically in Python, it's called a dictionary. But yes, it's the same thing as object in JavaScript. So maybe if we treat JavaScript later another time, I'll
It's called
explain that.
dictionary. Okay.
Yes. So, but in Python, it's called a dictionary. Yeah.
Okay.
So now, one of the special things about Python, and this applies to Python, applies to C++, it applies to Java, it even applies to JavaScript. One of the things about these programming languages, right, that C does not have is these programming languages are called object-oriented languages. Object-oriented languages. So Python is an object-oriented language, which means it has something called a class. There's something called class. I can declare a class. I can say class student. Um, I can say double underscore init define Okay, I've not treated functions. Oh, I need to go to I'm going to class when I've not done functions. Okay. All right. So let's go to function now. This is where I've just showed you the different primitive types or data types in Python. So now let's go to function. Every programming language has function. So in C, we know how functions is. This is our main function. If you want to declare another function, you just declare the data type. So let's say void fib, for example, open bracket. You pass in all the argument it takes, and then you go to a new line and you declare it and write it, right? So this is C. So in Python, if you want to declare a function, use the keyword def, def. So if you want to declare a function, use def. Def means you are declaring a function. That's just what is def. Then you call the name of the function. So I want to create a function that adds two numbers, for example. So let's say sum, right? Then open bracket. So the function takes in, for example, it should take in two numbers. That's what I want to do. Two numbers. So I say a comma b colon, right? Then I now say return a plus b. Finish. I've declared a function. This is a function that sums two numbers. Define means it's a function. Sum is the name I gave it. Inside I gave it the parameters it takes, a and b. I don't need to say int a and int b. Python knows it. It doesn't matter. If I just say a plus b, right? Now, there are different things that can go wrong in this program now. There are different things that can go wrong because what if I put maybe a string instead of a number, right? It can give error because you cannot just add, or let's say if I say 5 plus Uche, for example, now, you cannot add a number and a string, for example. But that's why we say it's interpreted. It doesn't know that at the beginning. It is later if you use it the wrong way. But what I just did now is a very, very basic thing, right? I just defined a function that sums two numbers. I want to call this function now. I want to print it. So I just say print sum. Okay, sum is an inbuilt. Sorry, let me not use sum. Sum is inbuilt in Python. There's a function called sum in Python. So let me say sum, or let me say add. Yes, let's use add. So add 5 and 7. So blank lines. Okay. Found one. Oh, sorry. Um, add 5 and 6 and 7, right? I want to add these two. So let's run this. Let me remove all those other ones we did here. Where are the other print statements? Let's remove this. Let's just comment them and come back here. So this is what we are dealing with right now. So if I print this again, I have 12. 5 plus 7 is 12. So you can see that I created a function and I just called it and it works. Very simple, straightforward. So this docstring is just telling me that I should put
I think we should try a number, an integer, and a string to see if it will concatenate it.
All right, let's try that. So one thing about Python is you can actually add strings in Python. It doesn't give error. So if I say hello and world, right, and I print this, it prints hello world. So I just did hello plus world. So this syntax is correct in Python. You can actually add string. You can just say a plus b and to give you ab. In C, if you do a plus b to add the
But so what if we change one to an integer?
Yes, if you change one to an integer, that's where you have error. That's where you have error. Now, if I run this, it tells you return a plus b can only concatenate string, not int. That's where you have
I
error.
think it might still concatenate. Let's see.
No, it doesn't work.
Wow, it didn't work.
So
integer into a string.
Yes, why? So like I said, Python is a dynamically typed language. So when I wrote 5 like this, because I didn't put quote and because there is no decimal in front, Python looks at it and says, okay, this number looks like an integer. The same way you would just try to interpret it as a human being. Okay, this is an integer. It is a number. There is no decimal. There is no quote. So I take it as an integer. This one now, I put quote in it. I close it in quote. So Python says, okay, because this is in quote, this is a string. So now we have a string and we have an integer. and you cannot do this operation. You cannot add a string and an integer. So Python knows that. So a lot of Python tries to do a lot of things for you behind the scenes, try to do some kind of interpretation for you. That's why it makes it very, very easy. So this now cannot be done because you cannot join string and number. But you can join string and string, and you can join number and number. So I can say 21.3 and 56.2. Right? I can just do this, and if I run it, it gives me 77.5. So in C now, you will have to say float. You have to specify this A as float and B as float or something. If you want to join string, you must specify it as a car array or car star, something like that. So in Python, it's just very, very straightforward. You just have this and you put this. Now, Python still has something called type hinting. Type hinting is just like in C where you have to specify the types, like int, char, all those stuff. Python still has something called type hinting. So this A now, I can specify that it is a string by saying str, and I can specify str. Then I can specify what it returns by giving an arrow and says, let's say str again, for example, right? So what I just did here, I'm just specifying that A is a string, B is a string, and this function is meant to return a string. That's what I just did here. Now, the thing about Python is it doesn't enforce this type hinting. So I created a function that adds two variables. I specified that the first variable is a string and the second variable is a string, and the function is supposed to return a string. But I can still run this program without string. I can run it with number and it will still work. It doesn't give error. The advantage of this type hinting I did is so that when you want to know the methods, so if I want to say a dot something, I can have different methods. Now, method is something I'm going to get to, right? It's something about, I may not be able to treat it in this class now, but just because of the time. Time is already almost gone. So there's what it
I
called
have a
method.
question.
Sorry? No?
Yeah, so I have a question.
Okay, okay.
So can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly, yes.
Okay, so uh, you declared two variables A and B as a string, and you said that they return a string.
Yes.
I don't understand why you now brought in two integers, and then the program ran as an
Rand.
integer, returned an integer. Does
Okay,
it mean
yes.
that the functions you declared, I mean, the data type that you declared when
Yes.
you define the add
Yes.
is not relevant, like it doesn't have any value?
Yes. Okay, so there's what is called now. Remember, I told you that Python is an object-oriented language. Now, there's in an object-oriented language, there's what we call method and attributes. There's what we call method and attributes. Now, in Python, everything that is an object. There's what object. Everything in Python is an object. Now, the object I'm talking about is not the JavaScript object like this. So in Python, everything is an object. Now, a string, all those data type I mentioned, like integers, string, float, dictionary, list, tuples, all those things are called, each of them is an object. And every object has methods associated with it. What does that mean? Now, watch this. I have some data type. I have string, I have integer, string, float, um, list, tuple, dictionary, right? Now, look at something. Let me show you something. I hope this is still visible. Let me use this a little bit. Now, if I call this string now, if I say string, 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 dot, if I press dot on my keyboard, this applies to your ID. So I'm just using VS Code. So if you're using Vim, you may not have it, except you have upgraded your Vim the way I did my own. Now, when I press dot, you can see different things showing. All these things that are showing are called methods. A method is a function that can be performed on that object. Now, you see this string that I did press dot. I can get different information on my string, right? For example, now, I can say, if I want to convert this string now this is like H is capital letter, then ELLO is in small letter, right? If I want to convert this thing to small letter, all small letter, for example, that. Let me just comment all these guys out. I'll still come back to these functions. Now, print string dot lower. I want to print this string, but in a lower form, right? Let me save this and run. Does it work? Okay, no, I have to put bracket because this is a method. So I have to put lower brackets. So you see that it printed hello world in lowercase. If I want to print this hello world in uppercase, I just say print dot upper and save. If I run it, it gives me in uppercase. Now, if I press that dot again, all these things you are seeing, there are so many of them. If I scroll down, there are many of them. All these things are methods that are associated with a string. Now, this thing I put, this string, this hello is a string because it's in double quotes. And you can see all of them. We have upper, lower, capitalize, case fold, center, count, encode, ends with, find, index, is all norm, different things, right? If I want to know whether this string has um, alphabet and if it has alphabet and numbers at the same time, right? If I want to know if it is alphanumeric, so all this is alnum are checks. They return true or false. Is ASCII, is decimal, is digits, right? There are different checks you can check. All these things are called method, and these methods are specifically associated with a string data type. Now, a list data type like this calls has its own methods that are associated with it alone, right? Now, I've shown you this string. I've shown you this string now. Let's say now I want to do something on this list. I want to do something on this list. So I'm going to say scores dot. Now, when I press dot, sorry, scores dot. You see, when I press dot, you see different things appeared. These things that appeared are different from what appeared when I used string. These are different methods. These methods are specifically associated with lists. Every list has a method associated with it. Now, append means add something to the list. That is, add it at the end of the list. Sort means arrange the list. Extend. Now, let me just show you some of them quickly. So, let's say now, I want to add, I have a list that has 1, 2, 3, 4 items. I want to add another item to this list, right? So, again, let me print, I'm going to print scores. Sorry. So I print scores, then I'm going to say scores.append. Scores.append, I want to add something at the end of the list. So I want to say ALX, for example, at the end. Then I'm going to print scores again, right? If I run this Python test.py, you see that before it printed the first one, then I now appended ALX at the end, then it printed it with ALX at the end. This append is a method associated with lists. So it's a method that appends an object to the end of the list, right? So another method that is in a list, another method of a list is called pop, P-O-P. So now, let me say scores.pop. What does pop do? Let me print scores again. What does pop do? Pop is a different method for a list. Pop removes the last item of a list. That's what pop does. It removes the last item. Now, the last item in this list is ALX. So when I run pop, it will remove this ALX and print only this guy back again. As you can see, it removed the last item. If I run pop again now, let me duplicate this line. If I run pop again and I do this, so remember, we have the original list, which is this guy. I added ALX at the end. I use append to add ALX, so it prints it with ALX. Then I use pop. Pop removes the last item in the list. So it will remove this ALX. Then if I run pop again, it will now remove this whole list, this 921, to remove it. So we should only have 91 Uche at 3.4. So let me run this. What's happening here? My terminal freeze. I think my terminal just froze. Let me just close this one. Okay, so um Python test.py. So you can see. I hope you understand what happened here. Pop removes the last item. If I highlight it, it says okay, my ID is still loading.
Yes, we understand.
All right, so you can see it's a method. So we have other methods. Another method on a list is called sort. So let's say now I have a, let me create another list. Let's say I have a list called let's say positions. Or okay, let's say we have a list called um I've already created names. Okay, let me remove these names. Let me give names again, right? Names is equal to G. Sorry, this is a list, so we need to sort it. So let's say G um John um Fred and let's say Sam, right? So let's say I want to, let me just remove all this, running it again. So let's say, let me print names, right? Clear this. If I run this, this is the names list. Let's say I want to order this list. I want this list to be in order. So if we print this list in alphabetical order, Chi, John, Fred, Sam, right? So normally we should have this Chi first, then John, then no, we should have Chi, then Fred, then John, then Sam. So let's do names dot sort. So names dot sort then we'll say print names, right? So let's see if this works. So you can see first one it printed the original list, then the second one it sorted it. So we have Chi, then Fred, then John, then Sam. So this is another method associated with a list. So again, there are different methods. Names dot. When you press dot, right? Again, this is because I'm using an IDE, so I can see it. So if you're using just maybe Vim, you have to know them. You understand? You have to know them. So these are different things. So I can reverse a list. So if I say names dot reverse, names dot reverse, then I print names, right? And I go here. You see that it reverses after it ordered it, right? It now reverses it. So it does Sam, John, Fred, and Chi. It reverses it. So there are different methods. Now, if I go to these students, right? If I say students dot, you see student has its own set of methods associated with it that is different from the method of a list. Student has its own methods. We have update, set default, get, pop, items, clear, copy from keys, items. These are the methods associated with a set, a dictionary. Is a dictionary. So these are methods for a dictionary. So each data type in C has its own methods that are associated with it. So I'll just end this particular discussion of methods for now. We'll get into this another time when we are treating objects. So there's what we call objects, and objects are made from a class, and a class can have attributes and methods. So we'll get to that. That's like more of a little bit advanced topic. So, but just understand this. Now, I've showed you how to create a function. Basically, see. So this is um, I showed you a function. I just created a function called add. It takes in two. So, like I said, these things that I
Basically,
sorry.
So those
Mhm.
methods are basically functions that were defined
Yes,
that you can
yes. They are basically functions that are
that you can apply to any data type or variable that you declared.
yes, yes, yes. Those are special.
Compatible with a particular data type.
Yes, they are functions that are associated with that particular data type. That's what they are. They are functions that are associated with that data type. So you know how in C, can create a struct.
Like actions.
Yes, they are actions. Yes, exactly. So you know how in C you can just create a struct. For example, say struct node, something like that, and then in the struct you can give it different, will I say, attributes, or so you can give in a struct, you can have an integer, you can have a character array, then you can have another node or something like when we are doing linked lists. So it's somehow like that in C in Python. So when you declare a class. So again, I'm trying to not go because this is like a kind of advanced topic. You need to understand some things before I start going into class. So that's why I'm just doing this. So now the reason I explained this method thing, the reason I showed you guys this thing about method is because of this question you asked about why I put what this str is for. If it doesn't prevent, if it doesn't give an error, then what is the point of putting it, right? The point of putting this thing is, first of all, this thing I put is called type hinting. It is called type hinting, hinting. It is called type hinting. There's a reason it is called hinting. It doesn't make your code to have error, but what it enables me to do is this. Watch this. Let me remove all these guys. Let me remove this. Sorry. I remove this, right? Now, this A and B, I didn't specify whether it is an integer or it is a string. I didn't specify anything. I just say A and B, right? Now, if I want to apply a method, if I want to call a method on this A now, right? I want to like call a special method. Now, let's say I am writing this code and in my mind, in my own mind, I expect this to be an integer. That's me that is writing the code. I'm writing this code as a function that adds to integer. Now, in this method, in the code, I want to call a method that is associated with integers. So I want to say a dot. But do you know that I'm not getting anything? I'm not getting, if I press dot, I'm not getting anything. Why? Because currently my IDE or the interpreter, or let me just say my code editor does not know what A is. It doesn't know whether A is supposed to be an integer or not. It doesn't know. Therefore, it can't give me the associated method for that data type. So I am expecting it to show me things related to integer, like the methods. But the code editor doesn't know what A is. Is it a string? Is it an integer? It doesn't know. I just called A. It doesn't know. So when I put dot, it's just telling me, hey, I don't know what you want, right? But if I put str in front, or let me put int instead of str. If I put int, and let's say it's supposed to return an int, right? You see now that if I press dot, it gives me methods associated with an integer. Because now I've told it, hey, this thing is supposed to be an int. So if I press dot, it gives me things associated with ints. Bit count, bit length, conjugate, denominator, different things associated with int. If I change this to str and I press the same dot again, it gives me things associated with str string. So this makes is just the essence of doing this one is to make your code readable, right? Because when you are writing a lot of code, it's important for your code to be readable. And it also helps with this type hinting when you are trying to do this. That's the main point of doing this thing. So again, your code doesn't give error. Even if I pass in something that is not this, this doesn't give error because this plus works with strings and numbers, so it doesn't give error. That's why we are having this. So that's why I explained that thing about methods. So this just helps you. It's basically to just help you, but again, it doesn't give error. All this highlighting you are seeing here is just because I installed some plugins in my VS Code that helps me to show when there is some problems. So many of them are not. If it is not red, then it doesn't give. The code will still run. So that's for that part. So this is basically a function in C. So there's a lot of things to say, but let me just quickly just go. Maybe we'll use that to round up. Let me go to HackerRank now and just pick some questions. And we'll pick maybe 2 questions to solve. Let me just pick some easy question. Write a program that does something and does something. So
So can I ask a few questions?
yes, sure.
Just they're not okay. The question I want to ask is two. Now you talk when you mentioned that hinting, so it came to my mind that in Python, is there anything like okay, you know, you see now once you give the data type, automatically it allocates memory for that data type.
Yes.
So you now hinting that it's a string
Yes.
and hinting that the return value is a string.
Yes.
Is it like you use the term hint? Is it
Yes.
definite or is it just an idea? Does it mean that you can still pass an integer?
Yes. That's what it means. I can still pass another data type.
Oh, okay, it's hint.
Yes, that's why it's called hint. So the hinting is for you that is
Okay,
writing the code.
so in that case, okay, so okay, okay. So in that case, basically, that means my second question, which is whether it would allocate memory for an integer after hinting there's an integer, will not
Yes.
stand because if you allocate memory for, let's say, an integer, for instance, what if it's a string that you pass? That thing I want to ask is the concept of stacks, heaps.
Yes.
Do they
Yes. So
do they apply to and the dynamic memory allocation? Do they apply to Python?
yes, they apply to that is Python as a programming language does that, but it does that for you automatically. Like there are so many automatic things, there are so many things that Python does for you automatically. This list I created, as I created it, Python does the memory allocation for you, it frees the memory for you. When you want to increase it, it does the counting for you. Everything, it is doing it for you. Python is like doing 85% of the work for you. All those manual things we are doing in C, malloc, realloc, everything, Python is doing it for you. Python is doing all those things for you. Python abstracts literally
Okay.
90%, almost. I'm just giving using a random number, but Python abstracts so many things away, so many. Like, I mean, it's like magic. Like, if you learn Python first, like, I mean, I'm not even sure you can learn C. Like, I don't even, because it's this question you asked is a very good question. Like, you are, because you are thinking at it, you are thinking about it from C. Like, so you mean is it that simple? Yes, it is that simple. It is that simple. Though there is still advanced part of Python, but it is that simple. Python abstracts so many things away.
Okay.
And the reason why it's good is so that it helps you to focus
Okay.
on some advanced things. Because there are some things now that there are some kind of task we have to do whereby want to do it in something like C. Oh my God, you write 1,000 lines of code. You write code for like 6 months. Whereas in Python, you can just do it in like one day or 2 days. So it abstracts so many things. It does many of those things for you. All those dynamic memory allocation, storing, it does everything for you. You don't need to worry about that. Just write your code and focus on the functionality. So you get that, right?
Okay. Thank you very much.
So let me pick some questions. Let me pick easy. Um, is this easy? Okay, yeah, this is easy. So I'll just do 2 questions and then end the class. So okay, street playing and John.
Hello, Che.
Yes.
Hello?
Hello? Yeah, I can hear you.
The this mission quiz we did, I saw some arrows when you are to print.
Yes. Yes.
They brought in some Python questions,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
but I'm not seeing it here.
Okay.
Or is it because of the editor you're using?
Okay. Those arrows. Yes, those arrows are. They are. I know the arrows you're talking about. Let me show you it. Go to.
Those great.
Yeah, greater than arrows. So want to open this. I can say Python. Let me just open. I know what those arrows are. When you want to run Python through your terminal instead of your code editor. So here now I can say Python. See, as I say Python, do you see the arrow here?
Oh,
This is the same. This is what they were using.
yeah, okay.
This is what they were using. So they are is when you are running Python through your terminal, like you are writing the Python code. So you can say C equal to 25. Let's enter. It goes to another line. If I say C, print C. This is how you remember. This is how it is. So this is what they were using.
Yes.
So that Python is just like we can run in our shell. You can do dot slash something and run your shell, then it will now show you something. So this is almost like shell, but it's Python now. It is a shell. It's like it's a Python program. So when you run it, it opens a kind of prompt. Then you type something and you press enter and it does something. So that's basically what it is. This is what they use. But I'm just using code editor. That's why you are not seeing that great.
Okay.
Yeah. So I say let's do some
So
code.
this is just like running. This is just like running JavaScript, not on the IDE, but like running it on your console, something like that,
Exactly.
Abi.
Yes, 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 exactly. Yes. The way you open your browser and you go to inspect, if you go to any website and you do inspect
Yes,
and you do your console.log,
yes.
so it's the same way. Yes. That's exactly the same thing. I
Mm,
just timeline. Yes.
yeah.
Put it line by line. Yeah. So you know
Wow.
some Java, a developer now, they do JavaScript. Whom is they never learn am like that way. So even here you can see um
I just small, my brother. This all they find money.
Abi? So I don't know. I feel this is a little bit. So let me zoom it out. But I need to still fit on the screen. Okay. So we have a question, right? You need to. It's good for you to get used to this website, this competitive programming website. So I've been doing this, since last year. I just go on the website, find questions. So this is the same way ALX gives us task. They just give you a task, then they give you here you have somewhere where you can write your code. So they just say write your code, then you have where you run your code and submit. So you can see run code, you can see submit code. So if I run code, it will check whether I have there to submit, and if your code runs and passes all the test case, you can now submit it. So this I'm showing you, like you can look at it like I'm teaching you two things. I'm showing you how to I'm practicing Python, and I'm also showing you how to use this website. So now in Python, a string can be split on a delimiter. So we have a. They give an example. A is equal to a string, and we have a equal to a dot split something, right? Then you have print a. So we printed this. So joining a string. So what are we giving? We are saying you are giving a string. Split the string on a space delimiter and join using a hyphen. Okay. So complete the string function. This is the split the string. Okay. So we're giving a string, right? So we'll just say I don't want to use Python 3, I want to use Python. So I'll just say line let's say let me say let me just give a random name. Cat is equal to line dot split open bracket this, then join is equal to hyphen dot join cat. Then are we supposed to print or are we supposed to return? You are given a string, split the string using and the function description. So I think we are supposed to, okay, return. We are supposed to return it. So return joint. So let me run the code and see if it works. If it works, then I'll explain what did. So I have an error. Value error cat split. This is the value error empty separator. Split. Okay, let me remove these quotes. So split is supposed to split it by what? By space automatically. Okay, so I have it. Congratulations, correct. Okay, so basically they told us. Let me separate each line. See them. So they told us to write a. We have a string, right? We have a string. We are given a string. This is a function. We are told to write a function. So basically, their test cases. They not give us their test cases. Almost the way ALX does. They will just tell you write a function that does it, then you submit it, then use their own test cases to test it. This is the function. This function, remember I told you how a function works. We have f.
So how do you know that function?
Sorry,
How do you know that this is the function to use for the question?
it was written here already. This thing, this all from here, this was
Okay.
written here already. Yes,
Okay, so it's kind of a prototype.
yes. Kind of like a prototype. Yes, they just gave it here.
Okay.
So that's why you see where they wrote write your code here. So they provided this already.
Okay.
Yes, I just this is the part that I added myself. All this other part was here already. So now we are given a string. The objective is this. We are given a string like this. We are told to separate this string into individual words, right? We are told to separate it into individual words. So now let me you know you guys must be familiar with this. When we in C, we have on many occasions you must have created a function that splits a word, a sentence to multiple words, right? So
French.
so if I
Yes,
Okay.
even in shell program we did it now.
in
String
shell,
talk.
so look at how easy it is in C. So I have sentence is equal to Obi is a boy and Ada is a girl, right? I want to split this thing into multiple words. So if I print send, I print right, first of all, print it as a string, right? Now I want to print it individual. I want them to be in a list like this. So I want OB separate, is separate, a separate, boy separate. I want it to be like this in a list. What do I do? I'll just say I can replace it here with this, or I can create another variable. So if I say sorry, I think sorry, wanted to say
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
okay. So if I want to split this, right? I call the method. This send is a string, and one of the method associated with string is called split. So dot split. Then what do I want to split it by? I want to split it by space. So I put space inside the quote. Another thing I may not have mentioned is Python does not distinguish between, like, you can use double quote or single quote in Python. It works the same way. Whether I use double quote for a string like this space, I say OB, I can use single quotes at the beginning and the end. The main thing is that whatever you use at the beginning must be what you use at the end. So Python does not, segregate. You can use single quote or double quote. So now I say list equal to send dot split. I call the method called split on this list. And what am I splitting by? I'm splitting by space. That's why I just put one space in between. So as I put one space in between, if I now print list, um, I print this. Sorry, okay, blank line at the end. Then if I run this, you can see now it's the same thing, but it converted it to a list. This is now an array. Just like imagine what you went through when you are writing C, when you are trying to create a function like this in C. Imagine. In fact,
Honestly.
eh, imagine what you went through. So this is a method, literally,
See,
But funny enough, even in that C, there are still built-in functions that will do this
that
thing
will
without
do the
stress.
things. Yes,
The
yes,
only thing is that
actually.
we were tasked with creating the functions ourselves.
Yes, yes, yes. That's true.
I have a question related to this.
Okay.
So, is it possible, is it allowed that when you are building a program, you combine two different programming languages?
Combine multiple programming language.
Yes, in building one program.
That is, do you mean like in the same code file or like multiple files? You
So
can,
even if I have different files,
yes. You can write your code. Yes, you can write your code to combine multiple files now. Like for example, different most programs you see are not written in one language. So for example, now one of the programs I use, which is Blender. Um, Blender is a 3D software used for 3D modeling. It's not written. It is written in Python and C. Mainly, the languages that are used mainly are Python and C. So here's my this thing. Okay, I don't have it here. To open the file. But anyway, like what I'm saying is most programs are not written in one language. They are combined. They combine different languages together to have to write a program. So it's not only one language, definitely. Even when you are using, if you are building a website now, most websites you see are not written in only JavaScript. They combine different language. They combine JavaScript, Python. Maybe JavaScript can be the front end, Python can be the back end. Then they may use HTML, CSS, to write the design of the website. Then they may use another language like maybe SQL for the database. So usually you're not using one language to build any project. You understand? So I don't know if that's what you meant by
yeah,
that.
yeah, you got that, yeah.
Okay, okay. So now you can see that I use a method called split to divide this word. This is a method, and I just use it now to divide this word. So, and I stored it in another variable called list. I can still replace this former one. And you can see in all these things, I'm not doing any dynamic allocation. I'm not saying, oh, this list must have 10 items. So I put square bracket and I put 10 in the front. I'm not using malloc or realloc. All those things, Python is doing it for you. You just do what you want, straightforward. So this is what I did here with this assignment. I call split method. Now, when you are calling split method, if you did not put anything inside the bracket, it defaults to space. The default thing that split checks for is space. So that is why in this place I didn't put anything in brackets. So whether I put something in bracket or I just put something like this, sorry, it's the same thing. So that's the default space. So that's why I put. So I took this line that is passed into the function. This function takes in one parameter, which is line or one argument. I took the line and I split it. So this cat is going to be a list. Another thing you must know is what something returns. Now, when you use split function, it returns, you see this arrow, this high arrow here, it returns a list. Remember when I was showing you guys type hinting, I use arrow to specify what it returns. So here, this split returns a list. It's important for you to know whenever you are calling a method, it's important, or a function, any function, you must know what that function returns, the data type it returns. This split returns a list. That's why when we printed list, it printed it with square brackets because this is a list. So that's what this returns. So now that we have a list, right? They say we should join it. You are giving a split the string on a space delimiter and join it using a hyphen. So we should convert the space to hyphen, right? So instead of OB space is space, it should be OB hyphen is hyphen, right? So we need to join it, right? So now, if you want to join, right now, we have a list we have a list. We splitted this string into a list, and we saw this thing now is a list. You can see variable list. This is a list. Now, we want to join the items of the list using a delimiter, a specified delimiter now. So we want to join each of these things in this list now back. We want to join them, but we don't want to join them as space. We want to join them with a character. So I'm going to call this list now, LIS, but I'm going to call a method called join. Is it join? List dot, let me see. List dot join here. Okay, sorry, not join. I'm going to call, there's a method called dot join, right? Now the way it is you open your code, you specify what you want to join it with. So I want to join it with hyphen, then dot join, open bracket. What do I want to join? I want to join list. This is what I want to join. So what I did is I specified what I want to join it by in code. I put dot join, this is the method. Then I put the iterable, which is this list that I want to join. So I want to join every element of this list by this. So let me store this inside another variable called join. For example, right? I store this here, then let me print John. Run this. Type error.
You wrote lists instead of lists.
Okay, sorry.
Lists.
Right.
There's an S there. At C, sorry.
So you can see now I've joined it with hyphen. So that's what I did on that thing now. It's just that here you will not see it because but this is literally what I did. You take in a string, whatever that string is, split it, call the split method on that string. I'm splitting it by space, so I didn't need to specify anything in the brackets. The split function returns a list. So this variable here is now containing a list. So I have a list and I want to join each element of the list by a specific delimiter. So I call the delimiter, I want to put it in quotes, then put dot join. Dot join is a method associated with strings. Then I call the list that I want to join it with. So imagine that I want to join it by, let's say I want to join it with asterisk. I can say asterisk, 5 asterisk in the end. So I want to join each of these elements with 5 asterisk. If I save this and run, you can see it just joined all of them. So this is a method associated with it, and that's just what I did here. This is very, very simple, basic thing. So I've submitted this. Let me submit the code. So all the test cases passed, just 2 test cases. And they say congratulations. Okay, I have. So let me go and join another. Let me go for another challenge. So we have another challenge now. I don't know why this thing is looking like this. If I change this theme to white, it doesn't change this other parts. Okay. So anyway, they say I'm giving the first name and last name of a person on 2 different lines. My task is to read them and print the following. Print hello. I'm sure you may not be able to see this. I don't know why it's showing. Not now. Let me highlight this. So hello, first name, last name. You just delve into Python. Okay. So I'm giving, this is my function. Look at it. Remember, I didn't write this. They gave me this already. I have a function called print full name. It takes in first name and the last name. I'm told to print something in this specific format. Hello, first name, last name. You just delved into Python. I'm meant to print this, right? So if I understand this correctly, what I need to do here now is this. Now this is string formatting. So I didn't mention this when I was showing you the basic, but this is a good way to introduce this. So you know how in C we have string, and when you're using printf, you can use format specifier. So use percentage something, percentage something. So Python also has that, but there is something that Python has which most languages don't have, and this is one of the things I like in Python, which is f string. So now I want to print this, right? I want to print, let's say str is equal to hello, hello, let's just say hello dash you, say exclamation mark, you just delve into Python. We didn't have full stop. We have full stop there, right? So I want to put a kind of placeholder here so that the first name will show here and the last name will show here. How do I do that? So very simple. This function, they say I should print, right? Okay, so I should print. So what I'm just going to do is this, or let me leave it str. I'm going to use f. So inside this is the string I declared, right? I'm going to put f in front. This is called an f string, format string, f string. So then when I put this in this place, I'll just go and say open curly brackets, open curly brackets. Inside this curly bracket, I put first, and here I put last. So do you see what I did? Hello, curly bracket first, curly bracket last, exclamation mark. You just definitely Python. This is an f string. Then I'll just print the string, print str, right? Let me run this as
So so
yeah,
instead of writing a percent s and then putting the
yes,
passing the parameter, or even, I mean, in C you have to even still maybe you still call the parameter, put in a
yes,
variable first of all.
yes.
But, wow.
So here, very simple f string. I just put everything, put it inside. So if I run this, let me be sure that they run. So I must have missed something. Let me see. Hello space first name space last name exclamation mark. You just delved into Python.
There should be no full stop after the exclamation mark. I think
Okay, no
there
full
shouldn't be
stop
a full
after.
stop
Okay,
after
okay,
the exclamation.
okay. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. So run code again. So as you can see, very, very simple. So this is like format specifier, and this works with anything. If I want to, let me go back here now. Let's say, let me clear this again. I'll just be clearing this, and let's just start from. Let's remove all this noise. So let's say age is equal to 25. Let's say first name is equal to John. Let's say last is equal to Snow. Then let's say print, or let's say sentence is equal to f string, put f, put double quotes, and let's say um, the age of curly bracket first, curly bracket last is curly bracket age, print send. You can see what I did. F string, the age of first last is age, right? If I run this, the age of Jon Snow is 25. You can see, very, very simple. So let me submit this code. Two test cases. Um, hope my data has not finished. Can you see? Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay. So
Yes, can
yes,
hear
I
you.
can hear you.
right. So
Where did you learn Python from?
sorry. Hello.
Where did you learn Python from?
Yeah, I learned Python almost throughout
Can you
last
hear me?
year. Yeah, I learned Python almost throughout last year. I did some programs, last year. So I don't know if I mentioned now. I did ALX data analysis last year. I did the program. It was a 3-month program, so I did it last year. And there we were taught Python. Although we use, it's not like Python on this level. We are using Jupyter Notebook. So probably let me show you Jupyter Notebook. So there's something called Jupyter Notebook. It's just a kind of special kind of file that we use to run Python code. It's a special kind of file that we use to run Python code. So you can run all your Python code inside here. So it is divided into cells like blocks of code. So we have, for example, here I can just say the same thing I did here. I can just say let me copy that code I wrote. Where is that code I wrote? I can just copy all this, put it inside here, right, and run this cell, and it gives me an output. Tells about your notebook, this later. So you can see it gives me an output. I just put all my code in a cell, then I can put another chunk of code inside this cell and run it separately from this one. So it allows you to run your code separately. So this is mainly used for data analysis when you want to analyze when you want to read like data sets and plot visualizations and do some kind of stuff. So I was hoping to show you guys that later, but I don't know, no time, and maybe we'll do that in another class. So I'll just show you. I wanted to show you like some use case of Python, basically. So that's one of the main use case of Python: data analysis, machine learning, and all those kind of stuff, analyzing data sets. So that's basically it. I want to think we'll just end it here for today. There's so much to say. If I continue, like, we'll not stop. There's so much to say, but let us just meditate on this one for now. Then we'll fix another class and continue. So this is basically it. Any question?
Okay, thank you very
Yeah.
much. Thank you very much. Please, my question is with regards to events, and you mentioned methods. From what I've been seeing, I think methods and events, there's a correlation in a way. What are events basically? Like, you don't have to go deep. Like, I know that you're already rounding up. What are events basically?
Okay.
I just have an idea of what I'm expecting.
Okay. Event. I'm not sure
Because I'm about to go into events.
that's event in Python or in JavaScript. Hello?
Okay, it doesn't exist in Python.
Yeah, no, it doesn't exist. Event. I'm not sure there's a.
Because I was assuming that maybe it exists. So maybe.
Okay, no.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. It doesn't really exist in Python or
okay. Thank you very much.
okay. So that is just a brief introduction, very, very, very intro to Python, like I said. So I don't know, you guys will have your different environment. I just showed you this with VS Code. So again, there are two files you can run Python in. You can run Python in normal Python file like this one I've been doing, right? I've showed you how to, you just write your code, and then when you write it, you come to your terminal and just do Python and then the name of your file. Now, this Python I did here is because I'm on Windows. If you are running Python on Linux like this, you have to use Python 3, then space, then run the name. So if I was on Linux now and if you run Python and the name of the file, it will not, it will tell you Python is not detected. If you are doing this on Ubuntu or usually Linux, so you have to put 3 in front of the Python. So just take note of that if you are doing this in Linux. So you can run Python through this, or you can use Jupyter Notebook. And this Jupyter Notebook is the reason I'm using VS Code for Python, at least for now, because Jupyter Notebook cannot run in Vim or NVim as far as I know. So you have to use it. So Jupyter Notebook is another type, but we may not treat this in ALX. I don't know if they are going to teach us one now, maybe later. But I like to use this because again, it enables me to just separate my code. I can just run some code in one place, have a different output, run another set of code here, have a different output, and so on. So I just like using it. That's just that. Just have that in mind. So I think that's will be it for now.
Okay.